Okay, this one I find very interesting. I call it the tube system. It's actually something I learned from Jack White's book, Come Let Us to Billiards Away. And Jack White is a great exhibition player. I met him while I was in college. And this is in his book. Basically, the one ball is your object ball. And you visualize a tube of connected balls. They're all touching perfectly. And so this space right here is exactly space for the cue ball to fit. So that's one ball width away. So what you do is you visualize an empty space, and then you fill that space up with your mind with the cue ball, and you shoot the cue ball right into this empty space. And visualizing this tube both before or towards the pocket and away from the ball helps you see where to put the cue ball. So in a way, it's another way to visualize the ghost ball by using a creative method. So here's take another look at it. You know those office toys where you have like 5 metal balls on strings and you pull one and it drops down and knocks the other one back like that? It's kind of like this. They're all in the same line. So just try to imagine that space right there. Okay, so my grandfather, Charles Eberly, he was my inspiration for playing pool. He was a great player, and he was really my first teacher. One day, after I'd already been playing for many years, somehow we were talking about shot making, and I think I had mentioned seeing the pocket, the ball and the pocket at the same time, and he was like, "That's right, you got to see the gutter." And it was funny how it just came up. He had never taught me that, and I don't think it had occurred to him. But I think it gives you a great image in your mind. And what you want to do, imagine a gutter while you're standing here, a gutter going from the object ball into the pocket. So right here, perfect gutter. And it's hard to explain, but when you're down on a shot, you're looking at the cue ball and the object ball, the contact point, but you can actually see the pocket out of your peripheral vision. And you can see a gutter there without actually putting your eyes on it. So it just kind of opens up the pocket in a strange kind of way. And I think you should experiment with it and see if you like it. Okay, if you know anything about the pool world, then you've heard of Jose Perica. And if you haven't, then you will as soon as you start looking into pool. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He's a real nice guy, and I was asking him one day what his aiming system is, and all he told me was, "Oh, I know all the angles." And it sounds kind of funny, but it's really kind of true. The more you play, the more that you're going to recognize the angles that show up, and you'll just know how to approach the shot. So for instance, take this shot on the 3 ball. It's really close to the pocket. It's not that hard to make, but it does have an angle. And take a shot like this, which might look a lot harder. It's really the same angle basically as that last 3 ball. And once you see these over and over, then you just know how to aim on them. So pay attention to what happens on your shots, and pretty soon you're going to just recognize the angles. Okay, now some players like to use what's called a fractional aiming system. And that has to do with fractions like a quarter ball hit, half ball hit. And actually I like to use that mainly as a means for conversing about the game and explaining a shot, or talking to another player about a match and how I'd like to hit the ball. I do find it useful once in a while though for actually aiming. So that would be something like, here's a full ball hit. It's just a straight on shot. You aim straight into the object ball. right around this 3 ball would be a quarter ball hit. So a quarter of this 3 ball, if you were going to divide it into 4, a quarter of it would be hanging off the right side of the 1 ball when you line it up. And that's going to send the 1 to the pocket. The 10 is about a half ball hit, so I'd aim the center of my cue stick through the center of the 10 ball, right through the edge of that 1 ball. So that's how I'd line it up. So this is a good way to describe the thickness of a hit, but as far as an aiming system, personally, I don't like it. I think a lot of snooker players use it. In England, I think that's what a lot of them learn, so I think it has value. And I think the main thing that it's good for is it basically puts you in the ballpark on where you need to be, depending on the fractions, the increments, how detailed they are. Myself, I prefer to use geometry just to see the line from the pocket, see the line from the ball, because there's an infinite number of starting positions and angles where your cue ball can start from, and it's impossible to describe or to put into a ballpark your cue ball starting positions into just 4 to 8 different fractions. But if that can get you into the ballpark and then you can fine-tune that by aiming at a contact point, then I think it has value. Or if you can use it for certain shots. So on this thin cut, this will be about a quarter ball. So I just want a quarter of that 9 ball to graze this right-hand edge of the object ball. So I'm going to line that up here. And that's basically how you visualize it. So you could think in fractions like that. One place where it really comes in handy is the spot shot. And if you have to put the cue ball back here in the kitchen behind the head string, which is right here, if you line up this point with the edge of the ball, actually you have a little room for leeway. So between here and in here is about a half ball hit. So you just aim the center of the cue ball right towards the right hand edge of that 10, and there's a good chance you're going to make it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just focused on making a half ball hit. But really, any system you use, you want your instinct to take over, and you still want to see the line to the pocket and maybe the gutter, as we talked about. There's a bunch of different techniques that we've gone over here. And I think the most powerful thing to do is to combine 2 or more techniques. So you could use, say, the ghost spot on the table combined with the contact point, or the ghost ball combined with a tube system. You could use fractions, contact points, but it's really valuable to actually try different aiming systems, because your brain is going to soak up all that material and you're just going to start to have a greater understanding of shot making. And then when you combine that with a very consistent straight stroke and awesome fundamentals, then basically the game is yours to do what you want with. Okay, I have some tips and drills for you to help you with your shot making. One thing here is, if there's a certain shot that's bothering you that you keep missing in the same way, for instance, take this 5 ball. Say that you just can't stop from hitting it too full into the rail right there. No matter what you do, you seem to keep missing it, especially key moments, or even in practice. You just keep hitting that ball too full. Well, your mind is playing tricks on you somehow, or your eyes. Something is going wrong. So one thing you can do, first thing, try to miss this ball on the other side of the pocket. Just do that on purpose. So now, do it a couple times, and your mind is going to get the idea on how to make it into the pocket. Because you know how to hit it there, and now that you get the idea of how to hit it there, you'll get a better feel on where that pocket is, and it should just be easier for you now. Okay, so another great way to practice is take a shot and shoot it until you can't miss it. Instead of just shooting it until you make it once, shoot it until you make it 10 times in a row. And that way you're really going to know that shot. And then when you see a similar angle or a similar shot, then it's going to be no problem for you. Okay, here's a great way to practice. Take a shot like this 14. Set the cue ball up straight. Make the ball. Then put the ball exactly, or any ball, back exactly where it was. And now move the cue ball one ball width over this way. And then make this shot. Then just keep doing that all the way until you get to 90 degrees. So move it over one ball over, and you want to make all the shots all the way to a real thin cut shot. That should help out. Okay, here's another great way to practice. Put your object ball here every time. You can do this for any shot. Put your cue ball here, like a foot away from the ball, and then make the shot. And then set it up again with the object ball there, but move the cue ball back a foot on the exact same angle and make it again. And keep doing that until you get the cue ball all the way back here. You'll find that the ball seems to get harder to make the further the cue ball comes back. But when you do this, it's going to get a lot easier in the future because you practiced it. And then this angle just becomes familiar to you. It looks so easy here. Well, you're going to start to realize it's really just the same angle back here, and you know how to aim. And it's going to give you a lot of confidence. And do that with a bunch of different shots. Alright, if I hit this volleyball with my foot here, if I kick it straight in the middle, then the ball is going to go right down a straight line that I kick it down. But what if I hit the extreme left side of it? Where's it going to go? And basically, let's see. So I kicked that way and the ball went off to the right because I kicked the left hand side. And I'm going to show you that pool is actually similar, although you can't see it so drastically like that with the naked eye. Now we already know that to make any shot, all we have to do is aim the cue ball right to the center of where the cue ball is going to be at the moment of impact. And we could call it the ghost ball. We could aim at the ghost spot on the table. That's where our stroking line is going to be, right towards that one ball, which represents the cue ball at the moment of impact. So with center ball, that's all we have to do. And we can make the shot no matter where the cue ball is. So what happens when we have spin on the cue ball, and what you might think, or someone might think before they learn this, is all they have to do is bring the cue stick parallel to this stroking line, like this, and now you can stroke down that line and you should still be able to make it. So let's see if I can get the cue going parallel. We'll just come over here like this. I'm just going to stroke parallel to this line. Wow, didn't even hit the ball. Okay, so that's my point here. I used left hand spin, and just like when I kicked the volleyball, the ball went off to the right when I hit it. So naturally, knowing that, we're going to figure out how to aim a little bit more this way, because so the ball can kick out to the right and actually still end up where it needs to create the line of centers that goes into the pocket. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to judge on a line to come down. Alright, so there's my line when I'm using inside English. Left hand English in this case is inside because it's inside on the side where the shot is, where the object ball is. If you're hitting right hand English in this case, it will be outside English. Okay, so I'm going to illustrate that for you with some tape and another brand new ghost ball. Okay, so this piece of tape represents a new stroking line. I left the old one down here. This one is angled over this way, which creates a line of centers that does not go to the pocket. So what we need though is the ball to go into the pocket. This is just our aiming ghost ball, but it really should be where it needs to be at the moment of contact when I use left spin. So let's see what that looks like. I'll put some chalk on. Gotta have chalk. Okay, so I'm going to go right down this new stroking line with extreme left spin. And the ball went in. So if I were going to use right hand spin, this piece of tape would be off this way to the right. And it's important to note that the more spin you apply to the cue ball, the more you're going to have to aim off of the standard center ball stroking line. Because the more spin you use, the more the ball is going to deflect. So if I were to use even more extreme spin, I'd probably aim a little bit more out there. But it also depends on how much speed you use, because the harder you hit it, the more the cue ball wants to squirt off of the line. So you have to watch your speed and your spin. Actually, if you hit the ball really, really soft with outside or inside English, whatever spin you're using, it's not really going to deflect that much when you use a really soft speed. So what you need to do is experiment and change your speed and your spin. Keep a couple of variables the same. Keep your aim and the exact amount of English you're going to use, and your stroke the same, but vary your speed and see how that changes your line of aim. And you can do that with all the different variables. Keep two the same and change one. And as you do that, you set it up to the same shot. You're going to learn quickly how to adjust your aim for the different amounts of left and right spin and different speeds on your shots. And then you can start really playing the game, placing the cue ball wherever you want for your next shot. Alright, now the more you practice and experiment with your deflection and figuring out how much your spin is going to influence your line of aim, and you're just going to become good at this naturally. And that's what I like to do, is figure out how hard I'm going to hit a shot with how much spin while I'm standing, and what I want to do on the table is going to determine that. So I figure that out, and then I adjust my stance around my new line of aim. So I already know what I'm going to do beforehand. So like I did before, I'm going to hit this with left hand spin pretty hard. So I know that's going to put my stroking line over here. So what I want to do is set up my foot and my whole stance like we did in the stance section, based all around my new stroking line, which is through the left side of the cue ball over to our new deflection ghost ball. So what that'll look like is something like this. I'll figure it out, I'll come over here, and then I'll land in my stance, and basically my stance and my alignment is going to look just the same as if I'm using center ball for a normal straight in stop shot. Same stroke, under my shoulder, elbow lined up. The only difference is it just happens to be through the left side of the cue ball, with allowance for how much deflection I'm going to have so I can make the ball. There is an easy way to figure this out without knowing any of that, and you could just line up to the center of the normal center ball ghost ball where the blue line is taking us. So what you do is you line up center ball, and then you use your back hand. Don't move your body or anything, just move your back hand over to where you want to hit the cue ball. And you see how that put my cue on line with where I put it before with my own calculations. It put me right on the line I was going to come down, allowing for deflection. And you can do that for whatever spin you're going to do. Just line up center ball, pretend you're doing a regular shot, and then move your backhand only and stroke down that line. So you see this stroke is taking me over there. when I'm hitting the right side of the cue ball, so it's going to deflect to the left and make that ball anyway. The only thing about that is that you are going to be changing your angle of your forearm, and you might not be on balance, and you might not be looking down the stroking line like you normally do. Some players use that method exclusively for allowing for deflection, and I'm going to recommend that you actually learn how to allow for deflection while you're standing and get into your stance. Although that method does have validity, and I do like to use it in certain occasions, and maybe we'll get into that in some future videos, some specialty shots and stuff like that. But learn your deflection, and now we're going to talk about throw. So I may as well show you what that looks like. I'm going to line up center ball, pretend I'm just going to slice a 3 with no English at all. So you see I'm aiming down the blue tape, and now I'm just going to move my backhand out here, so I'm applying left spin, and I made the ball. And you can see that my cue is going down this line, the deflection stroking line. Alright, here is a great example of deflection, and this was actually my grandfather's road shot. He would travel around the country, and this was like money in the bank for him. He would bet players that he could make this shot, cut it into either pocket. The ball is frozen on the rail, the cue ball is straight out on the spot up here, and they just wouldn't believe that he could make it, but lo and behold, he would get up and slice it into either pocket. You need a lot of spin on this shot, and you have to allow for deflection in your aim. So it's going to look something like this with the right hand spin. So you see I aimed the ball full. Something like that, almost straight onto the ball. And I'm using the right hand spin, which deflects the cue ball out here so it hits the rail first and then spins in and catches the 5 to go into the pocket. So that's the idea. Okay, now I just have to make this shot. Alright, so if you hit it even better, the ball will just hug the rail all the way in. Now we're going to talk a little bit about throw. And we've talked about deflection, so basically, say we have a shot right here. These balls are lined up on the line of centers right to the pocket. That's the object ball. This is the cue ball. And we know now that if we hit the left side of the cue ball, it's going to deflect over to the right. So we're going to aim a little bit more to the left, because it's going to deflect to the right in order to be lined up right here at the moment of contact. So now the question is, what's going to happen when they make contact as this ball has left spin? So I'm lined up over here, I hit the left side of the ball, stroke through it. This ball is going to go down the table like this with left spin. And now it connects with the object ball. So that left spin actually is going to throw this object ball a little bit to the right off of that line of centers. Some people actually argue that there is no such thing as throw. I think you'll find that there is, and it actually affects your aim less than the deflection, as I said before. But it is there, and you'll want to know about it, and you can actually use it to your benefit. So the more spin you put on the cue ball, the more throw you're going to get. And the fuller you hit it, I think also you're going to get more throw. Some more factors that will influence the throw is how clean or dirty the balls are. If they're clean, then I find there's not going to be as much throw, but as the balls start to get chalk and dirt from the table, it creates friction on the surface of where they contact, and the spin on the cue ball is more likely to affect the direction of the object ball by grabbing onto it. So a way that you can use it to your advantage is, say for whatever reason you want to hold the cue ball, you don't want the cue ball to move that much off of the line of centers after you make the ball. So you can do that by hitting the ball fuller. So in this case, if you're over here a little bit more, that's a fuller hit on this 5 ball. So that's going to send the 5 ball, the line of centers is going to be down here, but the throw is going to actually throw that 5 ball closer to the pocket, into the pocket, and you're going to be able to hold the cue ball closer to this rail. It's still going to hit the rail, but it's not going to travel as far off the rail. That'll come up in a lot of situations as well. Say you're also straight in, or yeah, say you're straight in, and you want to stop the cue ball and throw the 5 ball a little bit offline. Well, you can do that with left hand spin and a stop shot, and then the 5 will go off your line, and you can hold the cue ball there. So I'll put some left hand spin on this 12 ball. Okay, when you shoot a shot like this with an angle and you use center ball on the cue ball, what's going to happen is when these balls collide, this ball here is actually going to grab onto the object ball and pull across the face of this ball like this and impart a spin onto that ball. So even though there was no spin on the cue ball, just by the fact that it's swiping across the face is going to put some left spin on that object ball. And it's probably going to go right down the line of centers. If the surface of the balls have some dirt on them, it might actually go slightly off of that line. Where it really is going to come into play is on a bank shot, because if you hit with center ball and this ball all of a sudden has spin, that's going to drastically change the angle that the ball rebounds off the rail. So it would come to the left like that, and you can use that to your advantage while playing bank pool. As far as just making your shots, what you want to do, if you can, just put a little bit of outside English, which would be left hand spin here. Not so much that it's going to really deflect, just like half a tip. And then this ball is going to have some left spin and roll off of the object ball and help this one go cleaner into the pocket without spin. So it's going to counteract that grab, the collision induced spin on the ball when you hit them. And when you do that, it's going to look something like this. It's just a little bit of outside English. So here's center ball, and then just over a little bit. Looks like that. One thing that causes probably the most unexpected misses on the Pro Tour or in tournaments everywhere is on shots with an angle. What will happen is the player will just hit the ball. You'll hear a real funny noise, and this ball, instead of going down the line of centers, it will jump and bounce. It'll just go right into the rail, usually with an awful noise. And we call that skid, because what happens is usually there's some type of, it's probably chalk, but the balls aren't clean, or maybe they are and it just has one little bit of chalk right at that contact point. So where you hit it, contacts the 9, and that creates all that friction and causes the object ball to carry in the same direction really suddenly and cause a miss. So if you have a pool table at home, you want to make sure you have a ball cleaner or you clean them off regularly. That's what they'll do on the Pro Tour, and a lot of pros are obsessed by this. Before their match, they'll get a rag and make sure all the pool balls are clean. Okay, so just to show you an example of collision-induced spin or throw, I'm going to show you this bank shot. And you see the 5 ball is really close to the rail here. If I want to bank it back here, and if I hit the rail right there, my angle off of the rail takes me back out here away from the pocket. And I want to make it in the pocket. So what I want is for the 5 ball to have some right hand spin, so it'll spin back this way and into the pocket. The interesting thing here is that I'm not going to use any spin on the cue ball. I'm just going to hit it center ball and aim the cue ball right up there. And the center ball is going to grab the 5 and put a spin onto it as the cue ball wipes across the face of that ball. So there will be a right hand spin on the 5. And it should go into the pocket. Let's see how I hit it. Hey, not bad. Okay, let's see if there's such a thing as throw. I have these balls lined up right down here. It's going to hit the rail. It'll probably bobble in the pocket anyway because the pockets are pretty big. But it's aimed to hit the rail right about here. And I want to stop the cue ball with the extreme right spin. So if I do stop the cue ball, it means I hit it straight. And we'll see if we can get that 10 ball to go clean into the pocket or not. Okay, so I hit it right about here. I think it was aimed up here. So I think it threw a little bit. But you can see that I had a lot of spin on that. And the effect of throw wasn't incredible. It didn't throw that ball way off over that way. I hit that one pretty soft. Now remember we talked about deflection. So I'm going to line it up the exact same way here. And I'm going to aim the same way, but hit it a lot harder. So let's see what happens. Okay, so when I hit it hard with that spin, the ball deflected so much that it caused me to drastically miss the shot. And that's what I'm talking about when I say deflection has a much bigger impact on your aim. And it's going to cause a lot more misses than throw ever will. So you really have to understand deflection and learn how to adjust for that. And again, I like to come down on the line that I figure out is going to be my new stroking line. So we talked about backhand English before. Backhand English is where you get down as if it's center ball and then move your backhand. But I prefer to figure out where I'm going to stroke the ball and then get on that line to begin with. And that way I'm balanced and I'm always looking down the stroking line.